I do have the minutes posted. They're also in our district on our district site. So if you haven't been able to get to those, I will add this into the chat as well if you feel more comfortable reading them that way. It's in the chat also. Yes, Lamar, that was me playing the tunes. I hope you liked them.
Technically, it was Pandora.
Yeah, it was Pandora, yes.
Pandora picks.
Pandora was making the picks, not Mike. So everyone take a moment, just read through the minutes.
Good morning.
Morning, Eduardo. How are you?
Ready for the eclipse.
Okay, everyone, do we have consensus on our minutes? We need a little bit more time. We all good? Wendy giving a thumbs up. Thank you, Wendy. Thank you,
It says
Rachel.
next,
Thank you, Shirley.
it says next meeting, May 13th. Wait, was this supposed to be? Is it supposed to refer to today?
Oh, it should refer to today, yes. Okay, thank you, Wendy. Okay, other than that, I think we are good. Thank you so much, everyone. Okay, welcome all. So we have a number of things to go over today. You know, I know a lot of what's of top of mind is certainly around the solar eclipse that we're expecting later this afternoon. It's been kind of out there and prevalent quite a bit over the past couple of weeks, to say the least. And here we have it, is today. All of our schools are certainly prepared to make sure that our kids stay safe during the school day and certainly during dismissal. So I'll talk a little bit about that in just a moment. But also want to just shout out to our schools for and our building leaders for keeping our schools good and safe over our latest scenario, which, you know, you never know when you're going to meet something new. We haven't really experienced an earthquake in quite a while. And even the last one that we did experience, I don't know that it felt quite like this latest one. So big shout out to all of our building leaders, staff, teachers and staff for just keeping our kids nice and calm. I know those types of experiences can be a bit jarring. Certainly you can say that it was for me, being on the 5th floor. We did have a nice little bit of a sway going there for a little bit. So I'm sure that it was a little bit unsettling for some of our kids. So big thanks go out to all of our schools for keeping our kids calm and safe during that circumstance. So number of things to go over with you today. I'm going to hop right into it. So first and foremost, obviously today is our the partial solar eclipse that we are expecting around 2 o'clock today. Just making sure that all of our families know. Our schools did send out documents to our homes, making sure that everyone is aware of what the expectation is. There's no change to dismissal time or after school programming. All of those things will remain in order. Mr. Marino is all suited up and ready to go with his shades, so he is all set for the solar eclipse, as is Lewis. I have to tell you, we had a math night, which I'll talk about shortly. Council member Ong did bring some of the special sunglasses, and I have to tell you, I could not see anything with them on. So, I know it's intended to keep us safe from the solar eclipse, but I'm not sure, how safe walking a few feet in front of you would be either with those things on. So we have to make sure that if our children do put them on after school, that that they understand what the intent behind those is. It's not, for, a day-to-day scenario to protect our kids from if they happen to look up, so that they are protected. So, but needless to say, that it's a really great opportunity to talk science with our learners, making sure that they understand what is happening with the solar eclipse. So we've asked all of our schools to make sure that our science teachers in particular are connecting with our kids to understand what this process is, so that they have that awareness and understanding moving forward. So we are expecting this today. We should hopefully all things will be smooth sailing for our learners. Summarizing application that has come and gone. So if you are hearing of anything from any of our communities around this deadline has passed. Results from those will be available soon, for our families, so that they know if they've been accepted into one of our summer rising programs. We will be able to accommodate over 3,000 kids in the district. While that is not, certainly doesn't meet the volume of students that we have in the district, it's still substantial number of children that will have access to it this coming summer. So, and there will be wait lists. You know, we'll see how many that is for our district coming soon, and we will make sure we'll bring that to you guys during our next DLT meeting if it's available at that time. Testing window, as we know, and I am sure that you guys are fully aware, we are in New York State testing window. Tests begin on the 11th and 12th for ELA. Our schools have been working really hard to make sure our kids are as prepared as possible for both the reading and the ELA and math assessments, as well as science. ELA April 11th and 12th, math 7th and 8th, and we know that this the window is a little bit different. Excuse me, as our schools are not just taking them paper-based. They are available computer-based as well. So many of our schools are going full computer-based so that our kids have full access to that in the digital space, both in ELA and math. Science dates are May 15th through the 17th is the window for that assessment as well. New York City Kids Rise is just a reminder for us to continue to support. I know that Jenny and Esther have been connecting with our parent coordinators on this. And we have been also connecting with New York City Kids Rise, as a couple of our team members were responsible for actually helping develop the curriculum for it. So they've been in constant contact with New York City Kids Rise to help build this plan out for the district. We do not have a tremendous volume of parents that have opted in and activating these accounts. You know, part of it is just the idea that they have to share some of their information in order to gain access. But it is, you know, a free account that puts in $100 to begin for all of our kids. It does create an opportunity for even for our schools and for our parents to establish fundraisers where money can be actually added to that account over time. So it's an opportunity I think it's worth our parents to investigate more and get a clear understanding of. So we'll be continuing to promote this moving forward. And I think it's important that we do that as a DLT as well. Math Madness, we do have and have had multiple events, and I must have changed this on the wrong presentation, but we've had 3 IS-25, 209, and PS-20 was the latest one. So thank you to Principal DiPolo, Principal Egan, and Principal Barisi for opening up their doors. We had at our latest one at PS-20, I want to say there was upwards of 250 to 300 people present for this event at PS-20. It was a packed house. We were also treated to an appearance by Councilmember Ong, who joined the celebration, connecting with our kids in the cafeteria. They have a huge atrium there as well. So we thank PS-20 for this latest visit, as well as 209 and 25 that were also very, very well attended. It's really, really exciting to see our kids and our parents connecting with our families, our schools, excuse me, rather connecting with our families in this way. And I have to tell you, this is the third one, and all 3 of the events, parents were sitting with their kids, doing the math with their kids. You don't get a better experience than that, in my opinion. Louis, thank you for changing that. So more to come on this, because I do believe when we talk about our parent subcommittees, when we're thinking about gathering that data around what really works, to me, these things work. It works when we have actual activities where families can do with their kids. So more for us to kind of think about in terms of recommendation that we can share with school leadership teams widely as a result of our own planning at the district leadership team level. Just to make sure that all of you guys know, we did have our 3rd kindergarten IEP process training for our families. The recording is here for any of our schools. We do want to make sure that we share this widely. So we have shared it with CEC. We're sharing it here. We'll share it at President's Council. Share it wherever we can so that families know that we do have these training sessions that were created but also recorded. So if anyone missed anything, they're welcome to go on there. And it also includes, Nathan's information. So if any families are unsure as to what it means for them, even after attending the session, that it's accessible to them. And hello, April. April is Autism Awareness Month. really super important, especially in our district community, as autism does impact a number of our students. And it's important that our families know to keep that top of mind, that there are supports available, across our district schools as well. It was National Assistant Principals Week, so we do thank all of our APs for all the hard work that they put in on a routine basis here in District 25. They work really, really hard for our schools, our students, and our district community. So we thank them for all the work that they do. The last part of my presentation today is going to be really around digging into our parent survey data. So we have about 1,100 parents that have completed the survey thus far, and it's yielded some pretty interesting information. I do ask that we continue to push on our own ends within our own constituencies to make sure that our families are completing this. I know it's a little bit of a competing space because the New York City School Survey is out too, but that one we have to wait a little bit more time to gather that information. So I'd rather have some of that right now at our disposal, and will help our conversations in our subcommittee work. So we do have the link here. Louis, if you can just put it in the chat for everyone to also have access to, and you can see the questions. But what I'd like to do now, if we could, is just to break off into 3 different groups. And what you'll see here is just the current parent data. So you'll see at the top, you'll see the actual survey question. And then below it, you're going to see what were the responses in English, Chinese, Spanish, and Korean for the same question. And what I'd like everyone to do is just to go through a quick patterns and noticings protocol that we will do. And it's just be very brief. I'm going to ask everyone just to take a short period of time to independently look at the next set of slides, and it's slides 11 through 18. So we're going to look at them independently for about 5 minutes, and then I'm going to break you guys off into groups to have a quick little chat around some of the patterns that you're noticing inside of the data. What kind of stood out to you? What is it that is resonating with you? What's going to allow us to have some deeper conversations around parent engagement here in District 25? So I'm going to put this into the chat in the event that you don't have the presentation readily available, because I think it's important that we thank you, Louis, is that you did that? Okay, no, I got it. I put it into the chat. So we'll just take the next, again, I'm going to put the timer on for myself, just the next 5 minutes to independently take a look at this data. What does it tell you? Get my timer going, sorry. And then for some reason it's, okay, there's my screen. Stop sharing just for a moment. Okay, guys, next 5 minutes, just what are you noticing inside of this information, patterns and wonderings? And then we will go into breakout groups to have a little bit of a chat. Just take one more minute. If you can just jot down some of those noticings that you were able to pull from those slides, that would be great. And then we'll get into a few breakout rooms. Okay, everyone, we're gonna hop into just a couple of breakout rooms. So we have some DLT and non-DLT members on here, but we're gonna include everyone, provided no one objects to that, just to have some conversation. Everyone good with that? Yeah, okay. We'll create those 4 breakout rooms. We'll hop in. We're just going to give no more than 5 minutes, but while we're in there, just to kind of surface some things that that you noticed amongst each of those pieces of data from our parents, and just know that this is part of the conversation around our goal. Priority 5 was around promoting that parent engagement space of it. So let's have that quick little chat in these rooms. We'll open them up now.
I told them to work on the New York City school survey, and then once that's done, then we can push our survey, so we'll get more responses, right, Dr. Mike?
Yeah, absolutely. 1,000 people is still a good sampling to get some perspective about though. So I'm just wondering, even amongst the 1,100 or so folks that have completed, and in your groups, what were some of the noticings that you were able to pull from that, or at least some things that will then allow us to kind of surface some potential patterns that might exist in the information that we received, or questions that we need to continue to dig more into, which will help our subcommittee work as well. So anything that came from your groups that we want to kind of get out there and share.
Yeah, Mike, we
Well,
were just,
our group, oh, go
Whoop,
ahead, Rob.
Go ahead.
no, that's fine.
Go ahead, Rachel.
For our group, the first slide had the most noticeable discrepancy in that in amongst the Chinese language speakers, 72.5% said no, they had not attended a general meeting. And Wendy was talking about how that's due to language barriers. Wendy, I don't know if you want to talk more about regarding that.
Yeah, I was saying in our meeting that parents, over the Easter weekend, we had Chinese parent that organized, like a Easter egg hunt at Casino Park, right? They're all Chinese, and I was invited, and I asked them, why don't you guys volunteer with the PTA? We need your help. And most of them has said told me that it's because of the language barrier, because they don't understand, or they can't speak, so they feel like they can't contribute to the PTA. And I told them, we have so many events, the book fair, the Mother's Day sale, that we need volunteers to help. And you don't necessarily need to speak or need to understand what's going on, but when your child sees you in the school, helping out, they love it. They're so delighted to see the parents, right? So I try to encourage them to get involved with the school, just even physically being there. And because the parent that organized the Easter egg hunt at Casino, she set up the entire thing. She bought all the food, the eggs for the kids. So and if she could organize something like that, she would be great help for on the PTA.
Sure. Absolutely. Thank you for that, Wendy. So I just kind of took a note around, particularly in this particular case, the Chinese population had a very, very different graph as compared to others when it comes to that. So I just put noticing was that there was that difference between our Chinese population and our other, languages, and wondering, is language the barrier? So I noted that. Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, Dr. Mike, I was just looking as a principal. You look at the data and you see that perhaps we could rethink how we're sharing out curriculum. So the HMH and the MindUp data seem to be the lowest out of everything overall. And I know that we've had some successful events sharing MindUps, sharing HMH, and some days not so many people came. Just thinking of different ways to share that information. Perhaps in a year or two, there'll be a new math curriculum, learn from this and how in which we can really engage the community. Maybe not just a one-sided presentation of what this is, but something more hands-on, something where people are engaging with their children and the teachers around what it is that the expectations are with this new curriculum. Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that too, Rob. I noticed that it tended to be among the lower of the areas where we saw agreement, for sure. Any other comments?
So
Oh, you muted yourself again, Wendy. Wendy, did you have something else that you were saying? Oh, okay. Go ahead, Shirley.
I'm I'm gonna I was sort of didn't finish my comment in the in the breakout room regarding the Asian population. I'm not gonna say it's exactly the same here, but my school is mostly Asian. 70% of them is Asian population. And for us, I know for sure it's not a language barrier because every meeting has interpreters. We have Mandarin, we have South Korean, we have Bangla, we have Spanish. So every single PTA meeting, always we have, that's not it. They actually show up for our PTA meeting. So it's more of, if we're looking at family engagement, and I'm just, just a glimpse from my school, is the interest in the topic is the issue. You got to get them interested in why is it more important for them to show up. Because even fun night, it was, they did show up. Most of it was all the other population. So, for family engagement. So it needs to be like a topic of, of interest or somewhere in there to spark their interest, why they should come out and leave the house or come on the virtual platform. I think, and it has to do more with culture. And then not understanding the language. Again, I said this is my based on my experience.
Thank you for
Mike,
that, Shirley. Go ahead,
I
Gus.
just want to commend District 25 for doing this. I believe you're the only district in Queens North that is doing their own survey in addition to the citywide survey. Shirley, is anybody in Queens South doing a survey like this?
No, but I believe 24 is.
Is 24
the-
doing it?
Yeah, but there's always like teacher, student, parent is broken up, and is not always towards family engagement, but they're doing a survey. They have
But
been doing
are they
it.
doing it now?
Yeah, well, they supposed to been. They they had access to.
Okay. Well,
I
they
don't
haven't
know.
had their DLT meeting yet, so I guess I'll find out about it
But
on the next one.
Queen South, on the top of my, there's only 3 of them. No, maybe 29 did it, but not on this. Probably on something else. But yeah, no, I think basically 25, and I don't know if 24 followed through this year with their survey, but
Right.
yes.
So kudos to 25, and we'll reserve kudos to 24 pending their DLT.
And Dr.
Thank you,
Mike,
Gus. Yeah, go ahead, Monique.
hi. Yeah, so we spoke about, I know I brought up timing, like what time of the day are we doing it? Because we know that our Asian population, they work long hours. Most of our students in the district are in after school and then transition to maybe another after school. I know when I worked at PS20, and like Shirley said, it could be depending on which area of Flushing we're talking about, right? So I know for us, when I was at 20, it was definitely seeing a large population of our students not residing with their parents, maybe family members, sometimes even the after school programs. So I know for our side of Flushing, we were very successful in having these meetings first thing in the morning. More parents tended to show up. Also, you got to grab them in the beginning of the school year. September, they come out, they're eager, they're anxious, they want to meet everyone, they want to see everyone. So, what could we do to entice them? And just like what Shirley had stated, it's basically what the topics are, right? So most of the times it's very difficult to take Department of Education language and lingo and put it into translation. And sometimes, even if when you break it up into different groups, it's a lot of information coming at the parents all at once. And I did notice sometimes they feel a little overwhelmed. It's a cultural thing, but I do know that they will come out for their children. They will come out for fun events, things that interest them. I know for our school, they love visual arts. We've done bookmaking, we've done paper cutting. They just love those things. Science, I had my science teacher do a whole curriculum on building a bridge, and she gave everyone all these structural things, spaghetti, different types of things to build. And they were just like so into it. They were so competitive with each other, worked out with each other, things that don't take translation. I think are also very helpful when bringing out families.
So Monique, what I kind of, because the things that you just mentioned, I'm just going to kind of note as what type of hands-on experiences are we giving our families with kids? Because those are the visual arts, science, all of those things are not about someone being a passive learner as an adult, especially after a long day of work, you know,
Yeah.
then to sit there and have to listen to someone else talk to me for an hour is not the most appealing thing.
Yes.
So yeah, I put down what type of hands-on experiences
Right, because think
are
about it,
we
some of us are,
providing?
I know for me, I'm a visual learner. I'm more hands-on. I like to I learn as I do. And so if we look at it that way with language, what could we do where where translation and language isn't a factor?
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. Anyone else? Any other comments about what you noticed in the information?
I like the breakdown on slide 19 where like all the data is like condensed and you tell us everything, like 85 to 90%.
Oh, thank you, Eduardo.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that I noticed I think is important. So families say that they're being communicated with via email, dojo, what have you. A little bit of a different story when we talk about progress. You know, so the difference between me getting an email that something's happening versus the progress that I'm making as a student was different across each of the subgroups in some way. Now, our Hispanic families was above 92% of families that were surveyed indicated that they're being communicated about progress, whereas other subgroups, it was a little bit of a different story. So when I see things like neither agree or disagree, that tells me that that you don't know whether or not someone's communicating you about progress. So to have 17% of families surveyed say that they either don't know or disagree is a pretty high percentage of families saying that they're not being communicated with about progress. And for our Korean population, albeit 37 families, 27% of them said that they neither agree or disagree. And our Chinese families, 16% either neither agree or disagree or just straight disagree. So it raises some questions around, for me anyway, in terms of one of my wonderings, is how do we get better at making sure that families know the progress of their kids? Is just a question in terms of my own wondering that I have for myself. Does that strike a chord with anyone in terms of that? Because I feel like that's an important part that, you know, our families, and listen, I know it's hard. You know, I rely heavily on my wife and believe it or not on my kids a lot to tell me about how things are going in school. And I even have that accessible to me on a device, you know, but I still rely on my wife and my two kids to make sure that I'm aware. I have to touch base with them. All right, show me your device. What's going on? How are you performing in your classrooms? But it does raise some questions for me around how we communicating progress across the district, and are there some recommendations that we would want to make just as a DLT to send to SLTs to have that, to raise that question? Anyone else thinking raise any thoughts for anyone? Wendy, I see you came off mute.
Yeah. So you're saying in addition to getting the report cards and the parent teacher conference, right, on a, you know, daily to daily, weekly by weekly, you know, are parents getting like their child's academic progress, right?
Yeah, and listen, I'm not
I-
putting a time frame on it by any stretch because
Yeah.
I know our schools are doing a lot of that, but
Right.
making sure that it's clear to folks.
I
Yeah.
know, you know, some parents are, I don't want to say some parents are more concerned, but let's say, you know, a parent with a child with, you know, IEP or ICT, they're definitely more engaged with their parents. So sometimes it's the parent that is you know, reaching out to a teacher, right? Trying to find out what's going on with their child in school. Other than that, with Class Dojo, I don't know. I know it's easy communication with the teacher. Sometimes, you know, they have different preference. Either they like to do class dojo or they like to do emails, and they're not so responsive, right? So although there is that channel that where parents and teacher can communicate easily, being responsive is one thing. And I don't really see, teachers, I mean, other than your normal notification, like about the solar eclipse, right? Or tomorrow is a half day, or next week is spring break. Other than those kind of general notification, there's really no notification about, students' progress.
Yeah, so that's something that we're gonna have to dig a little bit more into as a team and start kind of drilling it down
Although
further by school.
although teachers have been saying that, they welcome, for all parents to reach out if they want to have a meeting to talk about their child's progress, they're welcome to that. So, the parent will have to, they have any question, they have to reach out.
Yeah, and you know what? I think there's a range of that because we have a lot of families that are saying that they are, right, being supported in that way. But it's making sure that, in between that space of that 20%, that there's something that's not right there that we have to kind of dig a little bit more into and work with our SLTs to help them dig into why do we see that space where some families aren't receiving, kind of as you mentioned, Wendy, aren't receiving some of that outreach for whatever reason. And there's lots of variables. But, I think for us, I think it would be a really good recommendation and maybe perhaps some questions that we even create for our schools to start digging deeper into it, because the more we know as parents about where our kids are, the more we can also interject into that space. So I think about Matthew all the time when it comes to this, because between Emily and Matthew, if Emily is shared with that she needs to work on something, she's going to work on it. If you say the same for Matthew, it's not that he won't work on it, but he needs a little bit of that fire lit underneath him to make sure he's going to get it done. It's two very, very different kids that, without that kind of back and forth, it makes it a little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
But
so recently, since everyone is concerned about the ELA that's coming up, there's been test prep at, the schools, and teachers are doing test prep during the school day. So I know some parents are not as, opt out for their child or children. That's fine. But let's say for those, that are taking the ELA or expected to take the ELA, I think it would be a good idea if, the teacher reach out to the parent and say, oh, we've been doing test prep and I see your child is good on this area, but need maybe a little bit more help on the essay portion. Maybe at home you could sit with your child and do a little bit more work. I mean, I'm not discrediting any teachers. They've been doing a fabulous job. I mean, they've been sending home test prep, to be done at home. But I think that extra step, just getting the parent, letting them know that we've been doing this, your child has, need to work on this a little bit more, right?
yeah, and I
That
think Wendy, it creates a nice space for us to kind of talk about in terms of, any recommendations that we can make from a DLT to our SLTs, just for thinking about how are we using parent engagement time really productively? How are we making sure that we're sending out some of those in between progress measures? Do our parents, that's why we kind of did that iReady training that we also included. Do we want to kind of talk about how frequently do we touch base with our families around iReady results, Acadience results, to make sure everyone's on the same page? So I think those are really important thoughts that you just included in this chat. So thank you for that. Shirley.
I think we need to answer the question what parents feel like progress monitoring or their interpretation of what is being informed of the progress of their child, to maybe to some is the parent teacher conference and getting the report card is good enough, right?
Right.
For us, and we want more. I've seen teachers say, okay, like tell parents, your child is coming up, we're having a quiz on Friday, please make sure they study. That is, some will like that as a progress monitoring or being informed what is going on in the classroom. So I think we need to get a like you said, ask questions, survey what is their interpretation of getting information progress monitoring for their child.
Yeah, I just included the question, are we all on the same page with what progress monitoring means for our own kids? What is enough? And I think you're right there. For some, Shirley, for some, sending home a report card is good. All right, I'm good. Check the box. I was able to see how we did in quarter 1, and I'm good to call me back in quarter 2, and we'll see where we are. And I think on the other side of that, there are folks that need to see that regularly, and define what regularly means, right? We'd have to kind of figure out what does regularly mean for some families. And in some of our schools, regularly with our teachers, and and to Wendy's point, regularly might mean I need you to check in with me every day. And sometimes some of our teachers do that for some of our families that do really need it. But what can we on a larger scale would we want that to kind of look like in terms of feedback to our school leadership teams around thinking about how we really supporting our families and understanding where their kids are? Ultimately is a big question for me that I raised from this. Okay, cool. Any other noticings or wonderings? I have each of these things jotted down, and I think they can help our own parent committees in forging some important discussions and recommendations between now and the end of the year. Okay, awesome. So we're gonna bring this to our subcommittee work, which I think is important. It's a nice little segue into this conversation, and it will have to be before the end of our meeting if we can come to an agreed time where each of our groups can organize themselves just to have a little bit of chat. And I thank Mr. Marino for organizing this kind of theory of action / goals space. And what I did was added in some of the comments that Rob organized from his group, and I added in some of our own from the language access part into this conversation as well. So one, I think we do need to do a little bit more of gathering some best practices from our schools, which we can absolutely do, and we've done actually already in the form of a Google Sheet, which we can share with all of you guys around some of the things that our schools have been doing to connect with around HMH, to connect with MindUp, and all the other things in between, because our schools are doing a lot of stuff. They really, really are. Then from that committee space, from that gathering of best practices around parent engagement and providing language access, to kind of consolidating and organizing all of that info. But there was also one thing that came up for us as well in terms of how are schools currently using those translation allocations? Are we using them effectively? How are we using it to support connecting with our folks? So I think for us, in terms of kind of next steps, is kind of developing some key questions to gather more information from our families, really identifying some of those best practices that we would want to highlight. And I would want to organize, if we can, into a one-pager, a district one-pager. Here are all of the great practices that our schools use. Where are you as an individual school SLT in doing this? And if you're not, let's think about how you can build it into your own practice. And then lastly, I just would love, before we can finish today, if we can meet once between now and our next SLT meeting to kind of organize from the engagement side, which I know, many of you are on, and then the other side was around language access. If we could just kind of pick a date, and we'll do that towards the end of today's meeting, pick a date where we can all meet, kind of talk about the 2 zones that we were working on, and I'll have all that information available to you to start looking at as individual groups, so we can start organizing ourselves around developing a set of recommendations between now and the end of the year. So by June, I think it would be great if we can have a set of recommendations and a one-pager ready for all of our schools to begin planning and organizing themselves into September of next school year. What does everyone think about that? That makes sense? Yeah? Okay, good. All right, awesome. So we're going to come back to this at the very end. There's just one last part that I want us to look at individually just for a moment. And I'm going to open my slideshow so you can see this a little bit larger. So one of the things that we also did, just so that everyone knows, we engaged our students in a social emotional learning survey. This was nearly 14,000 kids. We only did it for grades 3 through 8. Just because, you know, for our little ones, K to 2, sometimes a little difficult for them to understand, you know, the content of it and making sure we're getting clear data. But what you see here on this slide, all 1s and 2s are kids that said that it was very difficult or difficult for them to do the skill that you see listed here. So in terms of this table, you'll see subgroup on the left that is by all students. Then you'll see the domain, self-awareness, self-management, relationship skills. Then you'll see the skill that kids are talking about. And then a 1 is very difficult, a 2 is very difficult or difficult, a 3 is neither, a 4 means that they felt it's easy for them, and a 5 means it's very easy. Just take the next 3 minutes just looking at the questions that you notice there, and how kids responded to those questions, and wondering, again, very similar type of thing, what are some of the things that you noticed or question about that?
Could you just repeat your question again? I'll make sure.
Hi, Shirley. Yeah, similar type of thing. Anything that you're noticing or wondering from the data that you see there?
And the majority of the answers are 4. The majority feel like they are 4, but I guess it's very low numbers for very difficult, versus the very easy. And I also noticed that this self-awareness is higher, just a little bit, than their self-management skills, which is good. They should be self-aware, and as they get older, develop the self-management portion of the.
Yeah, you know what I found interesting. We can do a quick go around here just for others' comments. The ones that you see highlighted between, you know, kind of difficult to very difficult, the ones that we highlighted just to kind of illuminate for you, is I'm able to calm myself down when I get upset or angry. 22% of kids said that it's either very difficult or difficult for them. And this one's very similar when we think about, I can continue a task even when I'm frustrated, right? 18% of kids have a really, really hard time doing that. Similar type of space. I'm able to be patient even when I'm really excited, right? Excited could be really, really very happy. I'm all over the place, or I'm excited because something just happened that really has gotten my goat, and I'm all tense now. And then I feel like I'm prepared for tests is another interesting one with kids that find it difficult or very difficult for them. So, when I see these types of things, that kids can recognize it, right? But do they know how to manage it? And those are the spaces that I have kind of the most questions for our learners. It's one thing for them to know these things. It's another to be able to say, you know what, knowing that I have a way to calm myself down, because all of us are going to we experience it all the time as adults. Some of us better than others as adults being able to handle and manage that too, by the way. But our kids do that too. And how do we help them when they are feeling like that? Because when they are feeling in that space, which is why we brought Mind Up in, when they're feeling in that space of frustration, when they're feeling in that space of being upset and angry, they cannot learn. Everything shuts off. The only thing that they're fixated on is whatever's bothering them. But anyway, those are the things that I kind of saw. Rachel,
Yeah.
I see you came off mute.
Yeah, one thing I noticed was that one of the lowest hard and one of the highest easies was knowing the difference between right and wrong. And I feel that that's so important, because a lot of those things that we're talking about, I can wait my turn to talk. I can help somebody else when they're not doing well. A lot of these come back to being taught the difference between right and wrong. And so I feel like that one item really ties into the survey as a whole.
Yeah, Rachel, I think that's an important one, that we at least have kids that know that it's important to know the difference between right and wrong, right? And hopefully consistently making that choice of doing the right thing versus the wrong thing. So yeah, that's a really important noticing. Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say that I think that if you gave the survey to adults, it would probably be similar data, but also thinking about the different programs we've used since my time here at 120 to kind of address this. And I know that Ruler was super effective in regulation, right? If feeling where you are, identifying where you are, and trying to come up with a plan, taking that meta moment to get to where you'd want to be. But I think that having now that we're aligned with Mind Up, we're seeing a lot of kids being able to stay in a good space. But also, is it as effective as Ruler when it comes to regulation, right? So we're trying to keep, at least at 120, we're keeping elements of everything, the best of everything that worked over the last few years. But yeah, we see it. I've seen it more now than ever that children are having trouble with regulation, self-regulating. More kids in crisis, and it makes me think next year, budget-wise, maybe another school counselor would be a priority. Something to really help children who are having difficulty with that.
Dr. Mike, just piggybacking on what Rob just said, the survey, if you gave it to adults, I think and I don't think I noticed the question on the survey, correct me if I'm wrong, but a very important item is being able to distinguish fact from opinion. I find that is a skill that is extremely important and lacking across the board in the educational system, and leads to all kinds of other repercussions, which I'm sure you could all guess at. Is that on the survey?
No, there's not a fact or opinion space on here. It's primarily this survey was developed from the Washoe School District in, I think it's California, I want to say. But they were very much connected with CASEL as kind of the premier
Right.
group around social emotional learning. And they've done studies on this particular survey, yielding really good information for schools and districts. So that's not a specific question on here.
Yeah, as an old social studies teacher, I'm particularly sensitive to it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So, I mean, my wondering, based on kind of Rob, what you're noticing is around how are the mind up supports truly impacting our kids' ability to regulate said emotions? Because it doesn't mean that, Ruler was working, that we abandon practices that are present there. But my wondering is, are the brain breaks supportive? Are the lessons supporting those needs? And interestingly, kids, only about 40% of them felt like those brain breaks were actually allowing them to calm down. Another 40% said they weren't sure. And, 20% or fewer said that, no, they didn't feel that way. So we do have some more work to kind of dig in as to why kids are saying what they're saying.
So Dr. Mike, I have a question.
Yeah.
All the data that's being collected from the questions for the social emotional aspect, are there individual results, or are we looking at this as a whole?
Yeah, so these go to schools in two ways. One, getting a full picture of their own school. So we have a district, school, and then individual level of all of this. So it kind of drills down into each of those smaller spaces.
Right. And so the results, like if a child is struggling in any of those aspects, is that shared with the parent?
So this has not been shared widely with families yet. No. So families had to agree to, as to whether or not they were okay with the schools assessing kind
Mhm.
of, this informal assessment. But there's not been a report that came out of it to share with families.
Because
But
I
it is
feel,
accessible to all the teachers.
because I'm thinking just as a parent, that if I'm allowing my child to take this assessment, and if something comes back that I should know about, I would want to be informed and then be able to be provided with maybe resources, because it's kind of seems like we're doing all this parent engagement, we want them involved, but yet in this aspect, we're not involving them in the data that's coming out about their own child, how their child feels, because a lot of times children don't feel comfortable enough to express their struggles with their parents. I mean, culturally too, parents don't want to hear that their kid is struggling. It's like, your life is easy, just go to school, I work all day, And emotions in some cultures aren't something that we talk about either. I know with some adults that I deal with, and I hear and I feel what they're going through, and I say to them, listen, reach out, here's a resource, go to counseling. And they're like, oh no, I'm not going to counseling, I don't need counseling. So there's also that
Yeah,
cultural
it's true.
thing. Even as adults, we don't feel comfortable because we were taught growing up just to suck it up and life goes on. So I'm
Yeah, you're
saying,
100% right.
if we want to see a change, like Mr. Marino was saying, some children are still struggling, and even though they're using all aspects of these great programs, the one factor that we're leaving out is the parent.
Yeah,
They need to know. Yeah.
I think that's a really good point, Monique. I think it's something that I have to figure out how to devise. And, it's simple enough just in terms of like a mail merge type of document that can be shared with families. So I'll have to think about what's the best way to couch that so that
Yeah.
it's a user friendly type of report versus a parent
Right.
looking at it and be like, you just see numbers
And
here.
it
And
could be something intimate where the teacher sits down with the parent and says, hey, I just want to bring this to your attention. This is how your child's feeling. And, if you have any concerns, just then explaining that we have those schools who have a social worker, those schools who have a guidance counselor that can provide the families with the resources. And sometimes parents are just working and they just don't have the time to stop and see what their child's going through, because we're told too, adults can walk around very happy, and sometimes the happiest people are the ones that are struggling.
so upset. Absolutely. 100%.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
no, it's great feedback. Thank you, Monique.
You're welcome.
Love that. Any other comments on this?
Just to piggyback on what Monique said, right? Are there data just from specific schools, right? I know your data here is for the entire district, right? What about for the schools? And is there like a breakdown? Because, you know, if you send that data to the schools, right? And let's say you have the school guidance counselor, maybe have a assembly where the parents can come in one night, right? And explain their data to the parents and then go into, you know, oh, if you exhibit certain um, um, problems with your child, you know, please reach out to us, you know, this, and then go into, oh, this is what you know, here are some tips or advice, you know, for parents to go over with your child, because you know, because summer is coming and no one's gonna remember, right?
Yeah, you know what, Wendy, I think I just kind of noted, how do we organize kind of PL supports, like, you know, PL supports for families? And what many of our schools have actually been doing is holding like these SEL type nights where families are being engaged in activities that promote management, that promote, you know, that kind of self-awareness. And they can very much be targeted to folks that really would benefit from it, kind of to Monique's point around, do families know? You know, so parents, if you see that this is happening, this is where you can come to get some of those resources, to get some of those activities to do with your kids at home. You know, and it's funny, years ago, we piloted a program. It was a mindfulness program, it was an online one. And, you know, I actually did it with my own kids. And what I found so interesting about that is, after doing, you know, a few of the sessions, and this is where parenting is also, we need to continue to coach ourselves, because even after they were doing it, we had stopped and my kids would say, why aren't we doing that mindfulness video anymore? We haven't done it in a while. So that was, even my kids at that time were very much connected to it, because it taught them just how to kind of breathe and how to stay reconnected with themselves. You know, so, but I do think it's important to make sure that we're providing access. I think that's you know, something that we can include in here, and also be a recommendation after we do a district type of form like this, where we get the information, how do we want to organize around it? And what our schools are doing now, they're really connecting with our case teams, and case teams using the information with our counselors, and then organizing those individual supports. But there's a different layer that we're talking about here in terms of engaging families. So I think that's important stuff. Any other noticings in the SEL data? Because I took up way too much time today, guys. I'm sorry. But I think it was important that we connected on this. Okay. All right. So I have a bunch of things here that I added into our presentation, just in terms of noticings in both of the parent data and SEL data, which will help kind of drive our own conversations for parent engagement moving forward. And I think it's important. I think we'll be able to establish some really, really cool expectations for our schools. All right. Having said that, Gus, I'm going to turn it over to you for your portion of today's agenda.
Okay, Mike, thank you. I have to apologize, folks. I'm suffering from a cold, so my voice is not as good as it should be. Hopefully you can understand me. My portion is to talk about the CEP, the new template, and the new information and template on the DCEP. So I'm going to try to share my screen. And the first thing, well, it says host disabled. Louis, do you want to show the stuff, or should I try to show
No,
it?
Gus,
You should be good, Gus, now.
I fixed it, yep.
Okay, try again. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. On the CEP, hopefully you can see it on my screen.
Yep, it's good, Gus.
Yeah, okay. The first thing that I want to say is that I plan close down on March 28th. and it will be closed until April 11th. I've already gotten some inquiries from schools because schools apparently didn't get that message, some schools, and so they've reached out to me and I had to let them know. So please let everybody know that that's the case. What you see here is you see a Word version of the new CEP template. And there are some new aspects to it. One item that I've talked about in the past that you're all aware of is that the iPlan portal and the CEP that will be online starting on the 11th will have those new tiles where SLT information will be put in. So that is one item that is new, and SLT information and Title I information will be put in on a monthly basis. Now, the other item that's important is Section 5. That's where the major change is. And let me see if I can go down to Section 5 and give you an idea of what it looks like. And Section 5 will no longer be pre-populated because of the changes. So the rest of it is pretty much the way it, with some minor changes. The progress monitoring section has everybody's doing the tool, and I'll talk about that in a minute. The needs section is similar to what you've seen in the past. You see it here as I'm scrolling along to get to Section 5. And there are progress monitoring targets. Okay, so in for each root cause, for example, in the priorities section, the needs section is not very different from what you've seen before, but the goals now have to relate to the system-wide focus areas. And for each section, there is a system-wide focus area that's called out. So you see here for literacy, there's dyslexia screening, phonics, etc. And that needs to be related to the goal. And the goal builder, which is that tool, will enable schools to write their goals the way it was done before. Every school, in addition to the regular progress monitoring section, also has to do a different section, which is down below, that is called the progress monitoring tool. Before, only schools that were in improvement status had to fill that out. Now all schools have to fill it out. And it has a section whether you're on track, almost on track, or not on track. And that's done 3 times a year, as opposed to before it was only done at the midpoint. Now, what's important for schools to realize is that that information, and I want to make sure that this word gets out, when the CEP goes public, that section will not go public. So schools need to feel comfortable that if they're not on track, they can put that down. It's just for their internal use. It's not something that's shared elsewhere. So they can chart their progress going along. It's only the district and the school SLT that puts that in. The other change is the action plan. You'll recall that the action plan in the before and action steps, you had a timeline. The timeline's now gone. You don't have to put in things from September to January and then from February and on. And it looks a little different. This is why, ladies and gentlemen, Section 5 for all of the priorities will be blank in the new template that is pre-populated. All of the other sections will have information in it, except for Section 5. Section 5 will be blank because the old stuff will not transfer over easily. So here you see the progress monitoring stuff about being on track and almost on track, etc. You see it here as I'm scrolling along. That's a new section that all schools are doing. And as I said, this section will not become public once the CEP is completed and it is online. The parent engagement section is the same. The resources budget is the same. You see each section is the same. Here's the one on emotionally safe. It has the same kinds of information. You see that it has system-wide focus areas, just like on the other one. Every section has those system-wide focus areas. So that's a change. The students with temporary housing section has some new information that needs to be put in. It's been expanded. I won't go into that, but that's what I wanted to emphasize in terms of the new template. Schools have this Word version to kind of plan with, and on the 11th, their actual document will be online. Now, let me see if I can get it up here. Yeah. So here you have the timeline and you have all these documents, by the way, and you have a little overview that Central sent on changes on the CEP. So the timeline's pretty much the same as it has been in the past. Schools are going to develop their plans April, May, June. The budget gets released June 14th. The schools are supposed to have their preliminary CEPs and Title III sections done. And by July 12th, there's the attestation that principals do of the alignment between the goals and the budget. So it's a little bit more time, I think, than in the past. And then superintendents are going to certify the document by July 26th. And over the summer, the district team and whoever looks at it from Central as well, I'm going to leave comments that schools take into account for when they come back and they get their feedback September 5th and then going forward. So here's the timeline. This is what's coming up. I'll expect that there'll be a little bit of a learning curve with some of the new materials. Central is going to release a webinar and PowerPoints for training on the new template and the information. I've spoken to some other districts and some feel that a special training might not be necessary, that principals might just be able to deal with the changes going forward based on the information that they get from Central and the webinars. It's your choice. If we want to do any special training between now and the end of June, I know it's a very busy time of year, so I leave that up to the district, whether you want to do anything special or we can deal with any questions. As I always say, I'm available 24/7 to deal with questions on these items. Now, similarly, let's see. Come on. Okay. Apparently, what I've also given you is I've given you the timeline on the DCEP. We have the new DCEP as well, and you have the DCP draft. This is I can't get the DCP timeline up.
It's probably the other slide where it says PowerPoint at the top.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it up.
Yeah, you see it on at the very top. It says PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, Gus, it's the tab on the top
It's
of
the
the
tab.
page.
The tab to the left, that one.
Are these them?
That looks like it's it, Gus, no?
Yes, here it is. Bravo, thank you.
Yeah.
So by July 31st, superintendents are supposed to submit their DCEP for central review. So it's a draft. Just like last year, Central is going to provide feedback over the summertime. And then when we come back in September, that feedback is going to be taken into account to revise the DCEP. You have the template already. You can put it on, begin looking at it. And I assume that on the 11th, when iPlan is live again, what will happen is that the DCP will be there as well, and they'll pre-populate it because that template's not changing very much. There are a few tweaks in it, but it's not dramatically different from what we've seen before. So hopefully all of our older information will be in there and we can look at it in terms of updating it. So the idea is that by November 30th, the superintendents and high school superintendents will do their revisions based on the feedback. And the idea is that by December 15th, that the final DCP will be available and it will start to get posted on a rolling basis. That's the timeline that we have right now on both CEP and DCP. And I've given you the templates and the timelines, so you have them all to work with. Any questions on anything that I said so far?
Yeah. Shouldn't it
Yeah.
say 24, 25?
Yeah, I've gotten that question before, and the answer, I believe, is that this is the timeline for this academic year. So it should, I think, say 24, 25, but I checked it to make sure that I wasn't, giving you the wrong one. And this is the one that that's Central. I have a meeting with them this afternoon, so I'll mention that to them, Shirley. But it was also brought up at a previous DLT as well, that it should say 24, 25. I think the CEP timeline does. So it's probably a clerical error, or maybe it was intentional because they viewed it as this academic year's timeline. So thank you for pointing that out and reminding me that I should bring it up at today's meeting. Anything else, ladies and gentlemen? It's up to the district to decide, every district, on how you want to support schools with this new stuff. And as I always say, I'm available 24/7. And if we're going to do any special training, just let me know so I can schedule it in. I'm waiting to see what Central is going to provide us in terms of support materials. And all of the support materials will be on iPlan as well. And I'm very happy with our schools. They've adjusted well. I remember I was there when iPlan was invented, and it's taken years for schools to get accustomed to all of the aspects of iPlan. And I think our schools are very comfortable with iPlan now, and it's used effectively and efficiently by most schools. Okay, if there aren't any questions or comments, I'll turn it back to the superintendent and stop sharing.
Thank
I
you,
have,
Gus.
I have
Oh,
one
go
more.
ahead, Shirley.
Yeah, go
That
ahead.
last line, that's the current
Say again?
timeline. I said that's the current timeline for this school year, because I see the
Yes.
last line says June and July of 2024. So we did all that other stuff already on
Okay.
the time. So that's how I'm interpreting this timeline.
Yeah, I'll bring that up to them. This is I went back when I was asked this, Shirley, and checked what Central sent me for this DLT, and indeed, this is the document that they sent. But I think it may be faulty, so I'm going to bring it up. We have a 2:00 meeting, which is in the middle of the eclipse, and we'll see how that goes. They may cancel it or delay it or whatever, but it's my intention to mention it. So once again, thank you for pointing that out. If they send me a new document, I will share it with the DLT in all of Queens North, all the DLTs.
Yeah,
And-
because that's exactly the same of the one that we got the beginning of the
The
school
beginning
year.
of the year.
Yeah, so I'm
Yeah.
assuming they still just they haven't created one for next year yet.
Yeah,
This
they
is-
haven't, I think. But
Yeah.
you know, it's pretty much the same timeline, I think. I don't think they're gonna change things dramatically. You know, their intention is probably to do the same kind of thing. But I'll point that out to them, that they should send us a new timeline on the DCEP. And the DCEP template that they sent me, I believe is the same one, pretty much. I think I noticed a little bit, one difference on the progress monitoring section, but it is pretty much the same. But all of this will get released again in iPlan, which is, you know, next week, on the 11th. What is today's date? So it's only a couple of days away. And so let's see what they put onto into the portal. It'll all be in the portal and hopefully updated.
Thank you, Gus. So just from the district perspective, we do intend on having some opportunities to meet with myself and Melinda from the team for those that want to kind of sit and engage in some of that planning and support for CEP development. So we're going to be organizing around that. I do think, you know, as the year comes to a close, we should probably schedule or at least put a tentative date on the calendar for engaging our SLTs early in the year rather than in January for that SLT training, which could be part of the conversation for our community so that they're all on the right page, on the same page at the very beginning. I know that we held it in January, and some of the comments from our parents after the, you know, in terms of giving feedback on that day was that this would be great if we did it a little bit earlier. And in past, we had done it in, I want to say November. This year, we wound up doing it in January. We've done it a few times in January, but I think it would be better served, especially with the new template, to reconnect everyone earlier than later this coming school year. So before year's end, hopefully we can just put a date on the calendar as a placeholder for next school year. So thank you for that, Gus. Okay, just in terms of moving right along, we have Shirley for the President's Council, High School President's Council report.
Okay, first I'll do is on the agenda is you have it separate, the citywide.
You know what? I didn't separate it, but you can do
Okay.
back to back. Shirley's fine.
So I'm gonna do the citywide first. The meeting was March 26th, and the hidden gem was back in Queens. It was Queens Technical High School. Okay, this is backwards. They did this wrong. It's the Academy for College Preparation for Career Exploration. It was in Brooklyn South High School District. And it discussed you know, the things that they have in their school. They showed 2 leaders which led a virtual tour about their schools, showing the auditorium, the health clinic, the swimming pool, a school squad. They have 450 students. It's a 6 to 12 schools, and it went over their career pathways and their career concentration in 10th grade, college credits, etc. You can read, the notes were sent out. You can read more details and look at the presentation. The main presentation this time was from the OFNS, Office of Food and Nutrition Services. Chief Quiles talked about their tasting program. They also showed that 70% of the student approval requirement for items to make the menu. So if we want new items to introduce, they have to have at least 70% of student approval for. So all those menu items currently had approval of 70% or more by students. So again, for the highlighted the different features of the menus. Mondays is meatless Mondays, plant powered Fridays, and regardless of options, they usually have 3 to 4 different other options to make sure the students eat. They have over 100 halal sites. They also have kosher sites, and the cafeteria enhanced experience. Over 270 schools so far, that includes middle and high schools, have undertaken the upgrade to the cafeterias. And again, any other questions and etc., you can look at the notes for more details. And in the Borough Breakout Room in Queens, we discussed the different actions that to support newly arrived students, high school enrollment, data-driven high school fairs in District 26 had, as well as possible collaboration for adult ed between D26 and District 79 for their upcoming fair. And then in Queens High School President's Council, talk about Elevate the High School Voice awards are coming up in May. For Queens High School President's Council, the only thing I have right now is our meeting is tonight, and we're not most of our meetings, besides doing our regular business, and as you heard, of course, the Elevating the High School Voice, but we are going to have our follow up to the parent and district team summit follow up tonight. We're doing it a week earlier because all our superintendents, Queens High Schools have 7. So all our superintendents are always on our meetings. So we're doing our follow up on our general membership meeting to that summit that occurred in January 25th. And that's it for my update. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Shirley. And you're not allowed to leave ever. I just decided that, just so you know.
I second that.
Thank you, Shirley.
Thank you. Thank you.
Eduardo, high school superintendent's report. I
Yes.
went out of order here. Sorry, guys.
I have some updates. I will be skipping through some of the slides. Share screen 2. Share. Okay, so I'm going to start first by giving you some updates on the DCEP and the progress monitoring. So for the DCEP school year 24-25, we're going to have 1 goal per functional area. These are the DCEP next steps, and the dates are tentative. From May to July 2024, we'll have stakeholders feedback section. It'll be an opportunity in each month. Summer 2024, submission of the preliminary DCEP, and the fall 2024, district team and stakeholders revise the DCEP based on central feedback. December 2024, the DCEP final approval and public posting. For some of the schools that apply for, these are some of the schools that apply for school-based virtual learning. In D25, we have John Bowen High School applying. For Future Ready, the schools that are applying in Queens North District, again, for D25, we have John Bowen High School applying for Future Ready. These are some of the pictures of our Pi Day workshop that was held here at the district office. And so the newcomers is not in District 30, but it's not in District 25, it's in District 30, but effective July 1st, the name will change and it will be called Atlas. The mission and vision of the school will largely remain the same. And these are some of our upcoming events. On Friday, we had our Youth Empowerment Conference at Queens College. I'll be sharing some pictures and videos next time we meet. April 17, we're hiring. I'll share the bit.ly link so that you can share with anyone who is interested in working as a teacher. We're hiring across the board from elementary to high school. Wednesday, May 1st, we'll have our family forum, helping your child prepare for Regents exams. Saturday, May 4th, we have the event with Queens President's Council, Elevating Student Voices at Francis Lewis. Saturday, May 11, we'll have a free vision screening here at Linden Place from 9 to 3 p.m. Wednesday, May 15, we have the D26 High School Fair at our junior high school 67. Tuesday, May 28, we'll have our family forum for youth. We'll talk about the summer youth employment program. And Tuesday, June 18, we'll have another family forum at the end. It'll be the end of the year celebration. So again, here's the information on the Queens North DSL hiring fair. I'll share the link in the chat. Again, want to remind everyone the survey for the 2024 New York City School Survey will close April 19. And that's it for me for the updates for Queens North. Thank you.
Thanks so much for that, Eduardo. Okay, next up, Wendy, you have any updates from CEC?
So we had our meeting last Wednesday, April 3rd. In our March meeting, we had the Office of Language Access that came to give us a presentation. And then I received an email from FACE letting us know that the Office of Language Access wants another meeting with us, the parents, on getting more resources on translation. One of our CC member, Joseph Chow, had mentioned the lack of simplified Chinese translations on all the notices. So since we have a subcommittee
He wanted
here,
more traditional, right? He wanted the
Yeah.
traditional.
no, there are traditional. He wants simplified. Yeah. So we will meet with the Office of Language Access again, and I think it would be a good idea, since we have a subcommittee here, to also bring in the DLT into our meeting. So I will let you know on that. Also, Diane Stein, the district lead for District 25, came to our meeting to give her physical education presentation. It was a great presentation. I think it explained Mind Up to all of us, and we have a better understanding of what Mind Up is at the schools. We discussed the town hall for the superintendent hiring process. We have a target date of May 7th, and then the C37 May 15th. I am waiting for the Division of School Leadership to confirm these dates. Once these dates are confirmed, it will be, we will notify the public. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Rachel, President's Council, anything from President's Council?
Yes, at our last meeting, we also had Diana Stein, instructional lead for physical education, present at our meeting. So she had a lot of exciting things to share about what's going on with the district, which we know you're also passionate about because you took a lot of her presentation. So that was exciting to hear about all the stuff that's going on with physical education in our district. And we look forward to a lot of the things that will eventually be rolled out district-wide. In our upcoming meeting on the 15th, we will have District 25 Math Instructional Lead, Beth Eaton, to talk about what's going on in the district with math. We know Math Madness is going on right now, so she can talk a little bit about that. And then we will also have overview of elections, because we know our elections are coming up for our PAPTAs and SLTs, generally in April, May, or June is when most schools have their elections. So we'll have an overview on that. And of course, your highly anticipated superintendent's report.
Thank you, Rachel. Much appreciated. Okay, CSA, Mr. Marino.
Hey, Dr. Mike, I just wanted to point out that Principal Abbott from Bell Academy has been elected to the executive board for CSA District 25. So congratulations to him.
Oh,
I want to, yeah, total agreement with what you said before about principals and all of our APs acting really well during the earthquake. Thank you for your leadership. You were very responsive during that time. We have amazing people, whether the waters rise, the skies darken, or the earth shakes. It seems like we're always stepping up to do what needs to be done to keep our kids safe and be a voice of calm. I also wanted to point out over the weekend at Thomas Edison High School, a few of our schools attended the Minecraft Battle of the Burrows Challenge. It was a real accomplishment just to be able to get to that level to compete. That was schools PS 200, 120, 2179, and 24. Really promoting digital literacy and creative thinking and problem solving through Minecraft.
love it. Thanks so much for pointing that out, Rob. Battle of the Burrows, always super exciting. We actually had a finalist last year participate in that competition. So it's really great work for our kids and raises questions around building that more widely across all of our schools so that all of our kids have an opportunity to do that. And maybe perhaps, Rob, something we can start thinking about just from this level to encourage schools in September to start thinking about it. What kind of programs can we offer our kids? After school, during the day, where do we build it in? Because I do think it raises the bar, and sometimes they come up with things that are so clever that we as adults don't think about. So appreciate you sharing that. Monique, anything from DC 37?
Hi, yes. Okay. So in District 25, last month in March, I visited PS 214, and I also visited Junior High School 189. I thank those principals for allowing us space and time to meet with the members. We went over what I stated, a lot of retirement questions, a lot of benefits are increasing for DC 37 members. So we were able to discuss that. Also, thank you so much for allowing me to come in and speak with the District 25 PCs recently. Also shared that information with them as well. School foods. I think the last time I spoke, they had a pause on the hiring hall. It's been reopened. So the next dates begin next weekend, 4/13, May 4th, May 18th, June 1st, and June 22nd. If there are any families interested in applying, it'll be at their headquarters in Long Island City, in-person interviews at 4436 Vernon Boulevard. And I think
Monique, is there a
yes.
flyer like you had last time for that?
It's the same flyer.
Same flyer, just new
Same,
dates?
yes,
Oh, the
everything's
dates are the same too? Everything, all the dates
Yes.
are the same? Okay,
Yes.
perfect.
And there's a number on the flyer too. If they have questions, 718-707-4400. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. And we have an actual taste testing coming up soon for school foods. They're going to be at 185, or they're trying to organize at 185 to do a little taste testing. There's not a firm date yet, but
Oh, I
that
would
will be
love
coming
to
up.
know when that is, so maybe I can go there and see it. Is it taste
Yeah.
testing?
Yeah, I'll let you know when we do it. I don't think they have a date yet. Lewis, if you can just
Okay.
remind me to make sure we let Monique know when they do that. They're in the process of organizing, but the principal, Mr. Leung, let me know that they were identified as a school.
Yeah,
to do some
the
taste
date
testing.
they have is April 16th, but it's not confirmed yet.
It's
So
not
we'll let you
confirmed
know
yet,
once
yeah.
that's the date.
Are
Yeah,
they
Tuesday,
doing
April
that
16th.
throughout the city?
I don't know how many schools they're doing it for, Monique. I know that we just happened to get one that was identified. I don't know
Oh, okay.
what the selection process for that was.
Oh, so they're contacting schools via email and saying your
Yeah.
school's been selected. Are
Yeah,
they
that kind of
inviting
thing.
families in or just
Oh,
staff?
I think it's
I
the
have
tasting
very
for
limited.
kids.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think
for
it's
the
just for
kids.
kids. I have
Okay.
limited knowledge of how they went about or who they're inviting. I don't
Okay.
know. I just know that
Okay.
all I can tell you now is that we have a school that was identified. That's all I
Okay.
have for you.
Thanks for the
Yeah.
information. I appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. It should be fun. I think the kids enjoy having a little bit of stake in that game. Oftentimes we're hearing a lot from them about the types of foods that they get, and great opportunity for them to say, this is what I like, and then go from there. So
Right.
it's
I
a
think
good chance.
before COVID, they had that. I know the school managers would pick a few kids and they'd sit down, and that's when the veggie burgers came out.
Yeah,
And they
yeah,
said yay or nay to the veggie burgers. So
yeah.
it's good they're
And
bringing.
listen,
it back.
it's all dependent on the kid, you know?
Yes,
So one person that loves the veggie burger, the other person says, I don't like it. So
it's true.
it's a tough thing to satisfy all of the appetites of everyone, but you know, better served if they have their voice in it for sure.
All right, thanks.
Anyone else? I think Lamar was on. He might have got kicked off. I know he was in transit somewhere. I think, did I miss anyone? I think we got reports from everyone else at this point. Okay. So our next meeting is on May 13th. The last thing that I would like to do, if we could, is come to an agreeable space around you know, who's going to, when we can meet again in between our DLT and between the DLT meetings, just to kind of discuss the language access piece, which I know is Wendy, myself, and Shirley, who I think now Shirley is not on here either. So maybe, you know what, I will follow up with an email to all of you guys, just to kind of organize who is going to be with what group, and then maybe we just through that email circulation, Mr. Marino, if you wouldn't mind, just kind of heading up that space just for the group that you were with, just to kind of organize that meeting time, that would be great. And it doesn't, like I said, last meeting, it doesn't have to be long, you know, just a quick touch base on things that you want to get accomplished, and then we'll come back together for our May DLT, and then hopefully set of recommendations for our June one. Okay. Having said that, do we have consensus on bringing this meeting to a close? All right, awesome. Guys, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Got a lot of stuff done today. Look forward to seeing you guys at the next one.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Talk soon. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye, have a